I was close. Red Clay Soccer Report, another go around here on SDH. Thanks for dropping by. John here, you there. Stacked show this week, and this one's going to be fun because we catch up with three of the coaches that folks gravitate toward when they're looking at success here in the state of Georgia, not just in 2026, but in the overall. Molly McCarty, girls head coach at Jefferson. She's going to join us coming up in just a little bit. We had their matches, Jefferson on the whole, going up against Johnson Gainesville. We had their matches on the SDH network last night. 3-0 win on the girls' side, 1-0 win on the boys' side. And then after that, give it about 15 minutes, around 12:20, Dr. Mike Tolmich is going to join us from Brookwood. We're going to find out what's going on with him and their program. We've gotten the chance to broadcast their matches with St. Pius earlier this season here in the network, and we've also had the chance to catch up with Dalton and Johnson Gainesville. Dalton's on our grid. Matt Cheaves is going to join us at about 12:35, and we'll look at what is going on with each of these schools and each of these programs when it comes to the 2026 year, how difficult it is to maintain, how the game has grown in the state since they have started as their coaches in their respective institutions of higher learning, and find out what it's been like for them this season and what they're learning as we go. And in on the Tom Coughlin scale, as she always is, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're kind of late, but if you're late, we're closing the door and locking it, and you're not allowed in. Molly McCarty joining us now, and so opening monologue was that, and so now I'm just going to bring Molly in. We're going to talk about stuff. That's the official term. So what's the word?
Hey, how are you?
You tell me. You're the one that's coming off of a win last night, and I guess the question is, what'd you learn about yourself?
I told the girls afterwards, I said a win is something to be celebrated. It wasn't the prettiest win we've ever had, and it wouldn't be the ugliest. I point blank asked them, every one of them before they left the field, did they give their best performance? And every one of them said no. And I said, learn from it. Use this, as something to go forward, because there's going to be a lot harder games against girls that are going to play you tougher with a maybe a faster press, a heavier lower block, as I called it. If anything, you learn, you live through it, and you move on.
And for your players, I thought that was really interesting when you asked them, and point blank, they responded and said, "No, we didn't." I mean, that's an honesty that. I mean, is it rare to have players that are that honest? Do they sit there and say, "Yeah"? Do they kind of halfway through it sometimes, or are they always that honest in your program about their own efforts?
One thing that we say to them is, if I don't know your honesty, I'm not going to know what's going on. I think that once they realize that this game was not the game that I think they thought coming in, this was going to be a game where we could pass the ball like we want. We could do things that we wanted. We let Johnson, the first 12 minutes of the game, kind of dictate what we were going to do. Once we made the switch to a 3-back, we definitely changed the pace of the game. And we changed the trajectory, I guess you could say, of what was going to go on the next 68 minutes. But that shouldn't have happened. When you get the start, we did move around some people last night. You got to have your moment, but you got to go in knowing that whatever minute that you do get on the field, that's a minute to be grateful, and that's a minute to showcase what you know. For them to be as honest as they were after the game, every one of them passionately left that field knowing they could have done better.
And that's, and that's to take that kind of knowledge going forward, because you're going to be going into region play, the anticipated run deep into the playoffs. You take you and that cough.
I can't help it, and I've talked all morning, so my cough is going to be there. I'm sorry.
It's all good. What I'll do next time I see you, I'll bring my Zicam. I'll give you the Zicam that's helped me out.
Thank you. I need it.
I mean, it's when you are the one of those teams that's always there at the top, and everybody's sitting there, and it's like when you and I were growing up, there was I know when I was growing up, you are far younger than I am. You always had the battery commercial with Robert Conrad. You had the battery on the shoulder, and he goes, knock it off, I dare you. And when you're one of those top dogs, and everybody's gunning after you like this, how difficult is it to stay consistent on the goals that you've set and be locked in, knowing that everybody's going to be coming in and giving you body shots all season long?
Yeah, I tell the girls, don't give in to what rankings are.
Mhm.
Don't give in to allowing people to say, "Oh, well, in 4 years, Clark Central's never scored a goal on you." Because guess what? They're wanting to come score a goal on you.
Yeah.
You can't get comfortable knowing that things are comfort. You have to get, comfortable being uncomfortable. One of the things that, being at the top, being one of those programs that everybody wants to come in and beat, every person, including those that start the game and those that I'm calling sustaining the game. We
Mhm.
don't call substitutes anymore. They're sustainers. They keep the fire going. You've got to continue what was started. And if what wasn't started was what we think is best, then as a sustainer, you got to come in and just kick it up a notch. I felt like we did that last night, for those that were on the sideline, but every person on in our roster right now can start a game. Every person on our roster right now can score a goal. Every person on our roster can assist a goal. Everybody has a role. Everybody's got to feel important going forward, especially if you're always going to be one of those teams that's at the top that everybody wants to come in and play you like their Super Bowl. Um, in fact, I love that. Like that is the beauty of high school soccer. One, you may be a dominant program, but two, you can always be knocked off that dominance. You have to humble yourself. But if you're one of those teams that never thinks that you've got anything to work on and you don't ever have anything to get better at one point, a Johnson, like they did last night, is going to come in and show you how to play soccer.
When did you turn into the idea of, instead of subs, comma, sustainers, dot, dot, dot? When did that change?
So last year, every year, the seniors that graduate get to determine the legacy hashtag for the next season. Okay, I've told you about this.
Yeah.
So last year, the seniors were like, we didn't get what we wanted. We didn't get a state championship. Fuel the fire is what our motto is this season. If you get a chance to come to Jefferson, I'll have to bring you into the locker room. They've got some really cute things going on in there. The fire starts, but the sustaining aspect of the fire has to continue to keep the fire going. So
Mhm.
no longer do we say, hey, our subs, it's our sustainers. They have to continue what was started.
And for you, well, for us as broadcasters, when you hand us the lineup, the roster sheet, there's a lot of folks on that.
Yeah,
W-
there is.
In week, what is it like for you to sit there and see all of these different bodies going after it and trying to compete for those game day slots? And what's it like when you kind of get to detach a little bit and see them challenging each other so they can be as a part of the game day and be one of those sustainers or even a starter?
Yeah, so I have been criticized, John, for holding too many girls on a roster.
Hmm.
Okay. I've had some parents through the years question, why do you keep so many? Well, why wouldn't we? For 3 weeks in our season, we have not once had a full roster.
Wow.
We have only had maybe 17 to 19 field players. The beauty of what we've been able to do so far in 6 games is every single person has played off that roster. And I mean, we've had the flu, we've had strep, we've had injuries, we've had some really weird things go on this season. But as I always say, like whatever happens at the beginning doesn't determine what's going to be at the end of it. Every girl on the roster has contributed to something. Um, you know, Passionately though, going forward, it's probably not going to be the same. There's going to be some girls that may not get minutes because other girls are challenging those minutes and they're doing better at that moment. But it doesn't mean to say that in one game, one girl can give her best and do her best, and the next game that doesn't happen. The challenge of it is putting that niche together after a great practice like I thought we had Monday. The intensity that we had at it was a little bit disappointing last night to go in and see that we just couldn't really get a consistency going. Is that a coaching thing? I'll blame myself for last night. Um, I'll blame myself for us not coming out the best. But going forward, They know they didn't play their best. Things will change. We will come out a better team for this.
43 names on this roster, and that's why I reached behind me. I went to grab the sheet that you gave me here. 43 names on this roster. And if you have 43 individuals that are having some kind of impact, you mentioned, to your point about, well, there may not be contributions later in the year because of everyone being back, later. The fact that they were there early in the year should be as good a learning experience. If I could get my upper plate to work this morning, for them to understand, okay, here's what I'm capable of doing when I'm a part of this process. And so I would think that it's an opportunity for them to learn, when you get those minutes, how valuable you can be, in addition to being that practice player, being that person early in the year in the non-region schedule, because you never know when you might get called upon because you might have something weird happen.
That's right.
And so for me to have a roster this size, you and the staff having to juggle all the alphabet soup that's here, because I'm staring at NL, DPL, ECNL, all of these things that are here that you have to juggle as a coach because they might be off doing other things. I mean, I don't know how you juggle all these chainsaws. I really don't.
Well, I will say, Blair and Kayla, my assistants, and Tom, we collectively work together through everything. I show up for all the JV stuff. Blair and Kayla show up for all the varsity stuff. Tom shows up when he's not in court, and he's a lawyer. But, the thing is you can have a big roster like we do. I can be criticized for that, but I'm giving 43 girls an opportunity. And in some cases, every single one of those girls out of that 43 all play club soccer. So if we were to dismiss any of those girls, I'm not just displacing them from a school roster. I could possibly be displacing them from a club roster. And that's what we don't want, because our program thrives on the fact that we are so community led here in Jefferson. We have Lanier Soccer Academy. We have Alliance Soccer. We have Athens United. We have GSA. We have AFU. Those are the main ones that our girls, and all 43 of those girls, play on one of those club rosters. The hardest part of being a high school coach is being able to blend all of that. So you really do have to focus in on consistency as being a key word for us. Last night, not the consistency we were wanting, but the other 4 games, and including our scrimmage against Mill Creek, we were able to be a little bit more consistent with how we played all together, blending all of those different levels of play into one goal, and that's building out of the back, playing possessive soccer, not playing kick and run soccer, not playing and skipping our midfield. Like, a big part of us is playing through our midfield and playing from our outside mids. We couldn't do that at first last night. We were getting beat to the ball. Those are just little things in training that they're going to have to be more aware of going into a game like Friday night against Cherokee Bluff and, Bristol and Ashley Scott and Bristol Kirsch. Like, those are big. That's going to be a big game for us Friday night.
Is it hard for you to find non-region opponents considering your pedigree, or do people want to sit there and stare at you face to face and go, yeah, come on, let's do this?
We scheduled Buford this year at first game of the season. We did not want to hold back. We honestly, John, all the big hype of everything, we were not the best team going into that game. But it's the beginning of the season. What does it matter at that point? You're just trying to still figure out who you are. And now that we are into week 7, this is when we really should be figuring out, okay, these are the things that we've been good at. We have unity. We've had consistency. We work hard. We don't give up. If you're still trying to figure out who you are by week 9 and week 10, then something somewhere has been lost. I feel like we know who we are. We just got to get better with that, and blending all that talent and all of that vision and all of that, soccer knowledge into one team like what we have. That's the hardest part of my job.
Dr. Mike Tolmich from Brookwood joining us here in a couple of minutes, here with Molly McCarty from Jefferson after the the activity last night at the dungeon. Hang on a second. I'm going to duck out of camera range because I have to show folks something. And as and you know what I'm getting here. So now
Yes.
this gets added to the stacks, obviously.
Awesome.
And the boss is probably going to steal it first. So at least it's not crimson. That would be an issue for her because of her upbringing in the Southeastern Conference. Crimson is outlawed here. Garnet is acceptable. Red is acceptable, but crimson is not. If you know what I mean. From the
And is it Brookwood crimson? Aren't they crimson or garnet?
They're Garnet. You see, Garnet. See, all right, fine. I'm going to bring Doc Mike. I'm going to bring Doc Mike in. So we're gonna.
I don't want to upset him.
No. It's Doc Mike. It's
maroon.
Yeah. Okay. So I call it Garnet because I'm a Florida State guy, Mike.
Okay.
So it is officially maroon.
Yeah, we're maroon and gold.
Okay.
Vegas gold. Though.
Vegas maroon and Vegas gold.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that I have two of the top names in the state here on the show at the same time, I was asking Coach McCarty, Doc Mike, about the idea of navigating, and I'll see bell schedule. You got to love that.
Sorry.
I didn't know. It's it's all good. But the idea of navigating non-region schedules, finding out who you are, the difficulties of that, knowing that everybody's coming after you and they're gunning for you. What's it like dealing with that? What's it like dealing with that battery on your shoulder and the bullseye every week?
Yeah, I think that's just the nature of what we do. I mean, the top teams, good teams, want to play good teams as much as possible. So we're gonna try and schedule hard games out of region. Sometimes we go into this expecting to possibly lose a game here or there, or lose a couple games here or there. But the learning that we would get from that is way better than some of the other type of games that we have. I've been doing this long enough, and we've both been doing this long enough to kind of know that there's my bell now. So that we've both been doing this long enough to kind of know that, right now, I know it'll change next year, but right now the only record that counts is our region record. And so we just want to do everything to get prepared to get to region, so that when we get through that, hopefully get through that and make it to state, that we can compete with those teams that we need to compete with. So, we try and schedule a tough out of region schedule, trying to avoid, if possible, teams that we might see in the playoffs, which makes it difficult as well. But we're in Metro Atlanta. There's lots of good teams around here. And just outside of Metro Atlanta, there's lots of good teams. So we just try and limit, bus rides over a certain distance, because it can just take a long time.
All right, Molly. Yeah. So you can go to the rest of your day, and do you need a note from me for Coach Thomas about class or anything?
No. The kids they really wanted to know where I was going with my headphones and microphone. I told them, I said, I'll tell you when I get back.
So the ground rules in these situations are, for you to exit, you must have a question for the person who has tagged in. Do you have a question for Doc Mike?
So Doc Mike, let's do this. So I'm in PSR. That's our mindset right now, is trying to find opponents, for our PSR rankings. We want the people that we play to be good, because ultimately it helps our PSR rating, right? Mm-hmm. So going forward, would we possibly want to bring us together and maybe join forces to play each other starting next year?
I think it'd be great. We'd love to do that. I think for us, you're a little ahead of the game for us. Like we are in this baby steps of trying to figure out this whole PSR thing right now anyway. And we're trying to, every day we're adding, when we add scores, we're getting on the little, we have the mock side. I guess it's mock. They're following it for us right now. So it's so hard for us to figure out, hey, who do we want to schedule for next year? And what do we want to do for next year? And will the girls and the boys team both want to play us, or are we going to have to separate a little bit here or there? And it's just becoming a little bit overwhelming. So like you are the kind of people that we need to talk to about what's the best thing to do. I still think the good teams are going to continue to schedule the good teams. Mm-hmm. But I do think that there's got to be a little bit of figuring things out here try and see how to make your schedule fit best.
Right.
And so, I had a team last year that canceled on me right at the end of the year because they didn't want it to affect their PSR. Now moving forward, they're not allowing that. They're because of things like that. So I just, I hate that we're trying to figure out a way to manipulate a system when I wish we would just do what we normally do and see how the system.
Absolutely.
So let's talk and try and see. I think it'd be great for us. I think I tried to get you on the schedule for this year and y'all were already full.
Yeah, we were.
And so, let's talk about it. Let's get it on the schedule for next year. I think it'd be perfect. Great matchup. Soccer Down Here will come and do the live broadcast. It should be perfect.
You ain't kidding.
Good.
Molly, go feel better.
Thank you.
And thanks again for everything that you've been doing. We're going to be knocking on your doors soon. Go get lunch.
Would love it. Thank you. Good luck, Coach. Thank you.
Bye. You too. Bye. See you.
All right. Wow. Bye, guys.
Bye. I feel like Fiddler on the Roof here. Matchmaker.
Yeah, we'll take it. Like I said, sometimes it's difficult to find teams to play. And so when somebody says, hey, let's try and set it up, I'll probably send her an email today and say, hey, look, let's start thinking about this and picking a date on the calendar.
Fantastic. I love how we can do this. Break, it's lunchtime, so it's like breaking bread almost.
It's perfect.
So you mentioned the difficulties. So since you opened that door, I'll kind of go in that room a little bit. The difficulties of math, navigating, and I didn't know that you had a team basically X out on you because they didn't want their ratings and their numbers to take a hit.
Yeah.
That, with all of that planning and everything, I was going to ask how difficult it is to find opponents in non-region, but it seems like the heavyweights want to play the heavyweights as much as possible here at the soccer.
I think what it is maybe some of the newer coaches might be trying to figure things out a little bit, and we're still trying to figure it out. And I've been doing this for a long time. I still want to play. I want to play teams that are going to help us. I want to play teams that are going to help us get into deeper in the state playoffs as possible. That's our goal. Our goal is not just to have a great record. Our goal is to be the last team standing. And so a lot of that takes a lot more than just scheduling games that we know we can be successful in. We need to schedule games that are gonna put us under, that are gonna give us troubles, that are gonna give us fits. And that's what we try and do. And sometimes it's hard to do that. A team that last year might have been that team, graduated a bunch of people. And so you schedule them and maybe they're not, or, a team that you think is going to be a team is fantastic. And it turns out to be great. We had one of those last night with Decatur High School. They turned out to be a very, very good team. It was a very tough matchup for us. Perfect kind of matchup for us. And that's the kind of thing that I think we look for, is, we only get a certain number of games. We might as well schedule the teams that are gonna help us later on down the line, as opposed to having a record here that looks better than it should be.
How long in your career did it take you to understand and get the idea of making yourselves and your teams comfortable with being uncomfortable, if that makes any sense?
Yeah. I think when I was younger, it was always, I think I always thought about wins and losses. And so sometimes you would schedule games and schedule some teams that maybe wouldn't be that way. So, I would say, gosh, I don't think it took me that long to kind of figure some things out, to kind of get to a point to say, my overall record is or this school's record this year is not as important as where we end up at the end. Because that's what we'll be remembered for. We'll be remembered for how we finished and not how we started. Heck, I'll go 0-5 if we can win a state championship. If that all helped us along the way. So, I would say probably within the first 5 years, figure some of that stuff out. And then, when I started at Salem, we had some really good teams back in the 90s, early 2000s. And then and then I moved over to Parkview, and, there was kind of a tough, kind of a situation where, I'm kind of following the heels of some greats over there. So, that transition from Salem to Parkview helped teach me a lot of things as well. Working with some great coaches along the way helped me with that. So hopefully I can keep passing that on to the next generation as well.
Now you've opened up a couple of doors here.
Okay.
You just cleared 200 wins.
300.
300. So you've just cleared 300 wins in a career.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first?
I don't. Wow, that's a good question. It must have been when I was at Salem back in 1997.
Wow.
That's when I started.
You've been a head coach for 30 years?
Well, I've been off. I took 6 years and left the classroom and worked for an education company. And so I was this is my 24th year, I guess, as a head coach for high school. So through my 30 year in education, but 24 years as a head coach for high school. So
does it feel like 24?
No, it feels like 30 or more. It's tough. It takes a toll on you. Especially, now that there's even more, and with this new PSR system and entering schedules and figuring out schedules and travel and practice. And then I coach club and doing club. And so it's a lot. And then trying to do my big job, which is teaching school. So it adds a lot onto you. But gosh, I think back, I don't remember my first win. I remember my first season. We were pretty good. But back then, I think only 2 teams made the playoffs instead of 4 from your region. I think we finished 3rd. So for the first couple, but we were pretty good. We were in a region with Heritage High School, who was loaded back in the 90s, and some teams like that. But we would face teams like McIntosh and Woodward and those teams back in the 90s and the 2000s. Those were the teams to beat. So yeah, I know a lot of coaches say every win is special. They all are. I don't remember every one of them, but every season has been special. I definitely remember every season.
So when you have questions about things, stylistically, approach, tactics, whatever, do you have folks on speed dial, or is everybody calling you for advice? When you need advice, where do you go?
Yeah, no, I am the first to admit I don't know close to everything. I've got a great assistant, Todd Henry, who was a longtime coach at Providence. He's been coaching high school for 20 some odd years as well. And he came to Brookwood, and he's been my assistant for the last few years. He's great with to talk over this kind of stuff. Our boys coach, I talk with him all the time. And then, other coaches that I've worked with over the year, Danny Kleinecht over at Parkview now, and Judson Hamby over at Oconee County. These are all people that we keep in touch with each other. We talk to each other constantly and float ideas off each other. And I think it's a necessary. It's a great community, a great family of coaches that have kind of been around for a while. But those are probably the ones that I would rely on or talk to the most through things.
Handful of minutes before Matt Cheaves from Dalton.
Yeah.
And I've still got 19 questions in my head. How difficult is it for you to navigate club and school when it comes to programs, talents, rosters, all these kinds of things? How difficult is it for you do you keep them separate, or is there thought patterns that blend into both when it comes to school and club? What's that approach?
Yeah, you got to be careful with some of that. Now, the big thing is you're not allowed, if you're a high school coach, you're not allowed to coach your kids
right
during the season or during the school year. So I do young kids. I do academy age kids, U8s through U12s. So before, elementary through middle school kids. So there's not really any roster kind of issues or things there, but it's neat. I'm at GSA And so I see a lot of the kids. Oh, I'm at this elementary. Oh, I'll see you in a few years. Oh, I'm at this middle school. Oh, I'll see you in a few years. So that part of it's nice. And then it's like, ooh, I hope you're at Brookwood District because you can play. So it's, it's more navigating the time than it is than any kind of dealing with rosters and kids. It's just a time situation because, I'll finish practice today and I'll go over to club practice and get done at 9 or 9:30 and then get up and do it all again tomorrow. So
what has it been like for you to see the sport grow? And I guess we can take it from the Gwinnett County element first with GSA, and we can expand it.
Mm-hmm.
What's it been like for you in your tenure to see the sport grow to where it is now, where literally we are under 100 days away from people chasing after a worldwide trophy here in this footprint?
Right.
You got the U.S. national team headquarters in the Southern Crescent now. Southeast is raising all kinds of flags and sitting there going, yeah, the Southeast has something to say. What's it been like for you to see everything grow over the last couple of days?
I mean, I think it's been great. The youth sport has grown because of a lot of those other things that have happened as well. I mean, I remember 1994 going to the World Cup when it was here then. A group of buddies and I flew out and we went to the finals. We flew out to California and we scout tickets and went to the finals. It was like right at, a little bit after college. So we were all into it then because we all played college soccer together and we all knew each other. And so, in our community, soccer was always kind of big. But looking out, it was always like, no, it's, but, over time you can kind of see, I think it's gained more respect. I think Atlanta United coming in town was tremendous. The marketing department for Atlanta United and all they did back in 2017 and 2018 to grow that, and you were part of that as well. To grow all of that was just unbelievable to see. And so even like somebody like my wife, who, she was a soccer person because my kid played soccer and because I was a coach. And when Atlanta United came, it's like, oh, I couldn't hold her back. She's the biggest Atlanta United fan there is. So it's so people that were, you get 70,000 people in the stadium. How many of them were actual soccer people? It's a whole bunch of them that weren't, but they like the sport, they like the atmosphere, and that's I think what's helped to grow this game, especially around here. I think Atlanta United was just a huge boost for everything around this area. And now, look, we got the World Cup coming in a little bit. Just another exciting thing. Hopefully that will go as planned and just continue to grow the sport like it's supposed to be.
Middle of a road trip for you, and so the ground rules. We bring in Matt Cheaves from Dalton, and so the ground rules are, Doc Mike, you have to have a question for Matt so you can leave and go back to class.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
Good, Mike. How are you doing?
Good to see you. I think it's a thing that it interests me because Dalton is a little bit further away from the Metro Atlanta area. How often do you feel it's necessary to come into the Metro Atlanta area to play some of the better schools versus, maybe playing Chattanooga schools or other schools in your area?
Yeah, I think it's real important to do that. You get a slightly different style of soccer, different sort of demographic type of player that you're going to see. We get that out of some of the Chattanooga schools too, but it is important because those are the kind of teams we will see in the playoffs. And if you're not ready to compete with that, you're never going to be very effective. So that's
right.
Very legit question.
And hats off to you. You've done such a great job with that Dalton program. I look up to you. You've done such a good job, and I love the success you've had up there. I've brought club teams up there in the past, while ago, and it's just fun to watch the soccer up there. So congratulations to you on everything you've done up there.
All right. Well, thank you, and congratulations to you.
Thank you. Hopefully it'll be big congratulations for both of us when we get finished.
There you go.
There you go. I like that.
Great to see you. I know you're
Hey, John, thank you.
Middle of a 3-game roadie. We'll see you soon, my friend.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. See you.
All right. There goes Dr. Mike Tolmich, girls coach at Brookwood, which is now one-on-one. It is now a one-on-one drill with you and me. Yeah, the ground rules are now like if it turns into a three-way dance or more. So the person who's leaving has to have a question for the person coming in. That's the ground rules now with the show. It's like
Okay.
one of those crazy things. So if you ever come in
Who's
early,
next?
no, you're last here, so you're safe. You're good because you're the last
Okay,
one.
very good.
So yeah, so
Okay.
in the future, if you come in earlier, just know that for you to
Okay.
leave, that you've got to have a question for the person coming in behind you. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be
Okay.
about lunch or whatever. Just a question.
Okay. Got to have an exit question.
Yes,
Yeah,
you have to
got
have
it.
an exit question. You mentioned the competition that you're playing, and you mentioned obviously coming to Atlanta because that gets everyone acclimated to being on the road. You never know when you might have to travel a long distance on a road trip in the playoffs, those kinds of things. But you also mentioned the competition that you get up there in Northwest Georgia, crossing over state lines, whether it's Fort Payne or Baylor coming up. Is it difficult finding non-region opponents for you, or does everybody want to sit there and go, "Yeah, I want to knock the big dog off"?
It's tricky finding non-region opponents because you got a lot of guys or a lot of teams, they want to step up and try to knock us off.
Mhm.
And sometimes, you want to be very polite, but you have to tell them no. And then at the same time, we want to find teams that are going to challenge us. And, like when we would play Vestavia Hills, McIntosh, that's very different than the type of soccer we see in our region, but it is more similar to the type of opponent we'll see later in the playoffs.
And you piece all of this together, and it's when you look at where things have gone since you started coaching there at Dalton, 7 championships, all of the wins. I know I think that there's another 0 coming up quickly with another couple of wins, right?
That's right. One more.
One more, and it's 500.
That's correct.
Wow. Okay, so then my follow up there. Do you remember the first one?
The first.
Your first ever win. Do you remember your first ever
Oh,
win?
I absolutely remember it. Yes, I do. We played Northwest Whitfield.
Okay.
And we played at what was then North Whitfield Middle School on a field that was probably too short, way too narrow. And I know Northwest had beaten us the year before. Before I'd come to Dalton, Dalton had lost to Northwest. And so it was kind of a big deal. I remember looking at my talent thinking, there's no way. But we beat them 4-0. I remember we had a German exchange student playing in the midfield who told us he was not a soccer player, that he was a gymnast. And I said, well, I bet, you could probably play here. And he scored the first goal about 10 minutes in, which was about a 30-yard, rocket. And we won 4-0.
What has it been like for you? And I will say that required reading for folks is the Joe Drape piece that he did on the program as you've been able to build it. And I mean, how difficult has it been for you to navigate, when it comes to the student body and continuity and all of those things that are locked into that idea of success? How difficult has it been for you as the game has changed, as personalities have changed, lives change from year to year for cities and families and such? How difficult has it been for you to adjust over time and still be successful?
I don't know that it's been very difficult to adjust. I've had my way of doing things, and that kind of gets tweaked a little bit as you go along, depending on what the players, the talent that you have has to tweak it a little bit to adjust to what you've got. I think we got it to grow, and the interest was there, and we just kept it going and kept it going. I really wouldn't say it was a difficult thing. It was just to stay focused and stay in touch with the people that are around us and supporting us, and just keep trying to do our best. And I think that's what we've done. I think too the players that I've had and the people in our community who've supported the game have really kind of taken ownership of it and put a lot of themselves into it. And that makes it a lot easier because they want to do good. They want to excel. They like being recognized for soccer. And I think a lot of the credit for that goes to those guys.
And it is a fantastic environment that is there. If anyone has never been, I would go to I would go to a home match there at Chapel Harmon because I knew what it was like going in on the American football Friday nights. I knew what it was like there in that environment. But having been introduced it in this environment, I love how it has been embraced there with everything that has happened over the last 3 decades to get it to where it is right now. Do you have a speed dial? Do you still have questions about things, whether it's philosophy or day-to-day operations or anything like that? Do you still have questions in your brain that you can sit there and speed dial somebody and go, hey, I got a question? Do you have that?
No, not really.
Wow.
No, I'm not sure what you mean exactly, but no, I don't.
Just like when you have a question about something, whether it's about day-to-day operations or your philosophy, or you saw something on the field or anything like that, do you have people that you can call up and go, I've got a question about X. I've got a question about something that, philosophically on the field, I'm seeing about how players are doing this, how this team is working. Who do you have as references that you can call either about stuff on the field or off the field in the day-to-day if you ever have a question about things? Do you have folks that you can bounce ideas off of?
Yeah, I've always used my assistant coaches.
Yeah.
We've talked through things and talk about the way we do them, and then we just watch other places, other people, and see what they do. And then we talk about it, and sometimes I'll research things and look for something new, something different. Like even to start this season, I was reading a lot about some of the ideas of people lining up in different formations, different styles, different ways of playing, and when I got done reading it, I felt like it kind of summed up how I feel. Like, you can take the field in any different formation, but if your team is superior in talent and athletic ability and conditioning, that the formation is not really going to matter that much.
Right.
And then when it comes down to a team who is tired is not going to be able to play as well as a team that's fit. So there's that aspect. And, kind of compare like a Brazil team, the first Brazil team to win a World Cup. People said, oh, they can't win with that style. The Europeans' style was very dominant.
Right.
And you can't win with that style. Well, they won. Well, then they won another one. And then a few years later, there goes England and Germany winning with a totally different style. So who's to say what style works when, what formation? It's kind of always an evolving thing. You got to look at what you've got, the pieces you've got, and how are you going to make those work? And I don't know, to me, that's the American way. We're in this great big melting pot. And we take the best of what we've got and we put it all together. That makes us the best.
How many times do you think you've evolved as a coach, whether it's stylistically or approach or whatever? How have you evolved over time?
I don't know exactly. I guess as it takes place, I don't really think about it that way. I know there's just things that I used to do that I've abandoned and things that I've picked up and then come back around to. And some of it has to do with what the kids are learning and what they're bringing to the table from club ball or what's been left out. There was a period where, that they banned heading the ball at lower recreational level type of soccer. And then about the time that age got into high school, I realized these kids have really not been taught how to head a soccer ball properly.
Wow.
And I noticed we were not doing very well at that. And it's like, okay, we're going to break this down and work on make sure these kids know how to head a soccer ball. Just other small gaps like that you recognize. I remember there was one group probably about 2011, 2012, and we noticed some pretty big gaps in their defensive technique in taking somebody on with the ball. And I remember me and my assistant coaches kind of looked at each other and we went, have they missed something here? Because, we're watching guys go by us pretty easy. And, again, we broke it down, and that was about the same time we got that in line. We kind of hit a streak where we won a lot. So it just depends on what's coming. You have to be flexible and pay attention.
What's it like having 4 of your assistants who were former players and to have that loop back from them to be to keep the circle and the momentum going for what the program has been able to build?
Yeah, I'm very proud of that. See these guys coming back into it. And then we've had another guy who's been a coach, but he's not coaching with us this year, who's a former player. And I see lots of them coaching in the community, and I really like that. But at the high school, it's funny because they were students, and I have to realize they are adults. They are no longer kids. They're grown adults, and sometimes I just sit back and watch them, and I also like them coaching with us because they've gone on and played in college. Like Omar Hernandez played at Wake Forest. He's currently playing with the Chattanooga Red Wolves. So when he comes to practice every day, the kids really identify to him. They look up to him. Plus, they know how I like to coach. They know the style I bring, but they've been other places and they've learned other things. So they know like what they can bring that fits the style that I like, and it can enhance our game. And almost every one of them has done that in some way. And I don't think they realized they were doing that, but they did.
And I've always thought that, when you circle back, I've always thought that was really cool. And then there's the legacy element of it. In addition to those that circle back and they come out and they're a part of your coaching staff, now you're dealing with the next generation of families that are circling back in this as well. Right. To have that dynamic, what's that like to sit together? Well, your dad was, better at this than you, those kinds of things. What was that? What's that now?
That's just fun. I mean, I guess I don't have any grandchildren, so I guess that's like having grandkids. Yeah. They come back around and you can see some similarities in them, then you can see some differences, and maybe in some cases the dad was better or the kid is better, but I would never say that to them. I'd let them just argue about it between themselves.
There you go.
But that's just fun. And I'm glad that they want their kids to play for me. That means a lot.
Yeah, I just have this, so a third party walks up between the two of them and sits there and says, "Well, coach, you pull one aside. Yeah, coach says that one's better. You go to the other one. Yeah, coach says that one's better." You have those kinds of conversations as a part of this. When it comes to the amount of time that you invest in a day, I mean, there are coaches that are, they wake up first thing in the morning, they're 2 cups of coffee in at like 4 a.m. and they run through and they go to practice. They'll watch film. How many hours in a day do you think you invest in making sure that the program is the way that you want it to be?
Oh God, on an average, it's very different. On some days, I could spend a lot of time watching video, watching the streaming from NFHS or something, watching the games on our next opponent. So sometimes it could be several hours, and then sometimes it could be less. But it's always during the season, from the time we begin tryouts until it's over, it is almost always at the forefront of my brain. Like the team, what's going to happen with the team. So like today is a day, I work every other day as a teacher since I'm a retired teacher half-time. So like today I've gotten up, I've worked on a couple things, looked over all the scores from last night. I've watched a little bit of video between a couple of teams playing last night. Then I had to watch the pennies for practice to make sure, those are ready to go. So I've definitely put some time in it, and I'm probably going to put another good bit of time before I head up there to go to practice today. So I don't know, just a couple hours every day. And then when I'm teaching, obviously I'm teaching and I can't focus the time on soccer because I got to take care of the classes I'm teaching. But yeah, I would say at least an hour or two every day, just kind of focusing on what needs to be done and what needs to take place for the team.
And when you have the game developing the way that it is, and we're fortunate. I did the math last night, and I think that our broadcast schedule, both boys and girls, ends up close to 60 matches a year across the state. Mm-hmm. And you get to see various competition levels, and you get to see programs that are growing, and some that you can sense a future is there, and some that are still struggling. I wanted to ask you this: for those programs that want to grow but are struggling on the field, the wins, they're having the number of losses is far greater than the number of wins. You might have student athletes that are frustrated and such about where programs can go, because the kids, they want to have those W's out there.
Yeah.
What advice would you give a head coach in that kind of a situation where they're trying to grow a program, the wins aren't there, the growth of the players is, and the understanding is, but the wins aren't there? What advice would you give growing programs that might be struggling on the field to get those results? What would you tell them?
I just tell them to stay at it and look at things honestly, break the game down from as honest a perspective without any ego in it as possible. It's easy to want to make excuses like blame the referee or the referee missed it. But you got to stay focused on growing. And if you're doing that, if you're excusing things where you've messed up by blaming the referee or something else, you're not seeing what you're doing wrong. And sometimes that means taking your ego out of it and focus on what you got to do to improve, and then just be consistent with it and try to find games that are going to be competitive. I think I see a lot of programs, they are so concerned with the W's, they'll line up, a lot of their season with teams that they know they're going to beat. And they seem content with that. And they get to the playoffs and then they're one and done as soon as they find a tough team. Right. And I don't think they need to go looking, to try to knock off the top teams in the state either, but find games where it's going to be challenging. They'll be in the game. They won't be getting blown out. They won't be blowing anybody out. And those are the games where you probably get the most growth.
How much tape have you seen on Woodland?
I've seen one game and about half of another.
Okay.
And I looked for the video of their game last night and I haven't seen it.
Okay. And obviously, I know why I asked, why I asked, but the next matchup for you, 6-0 going up against 4-2, and it is 7:30 on Friday night. And that was why I wanted to know what study hall has been like for you. And I cannot thank you enough for coming in on one of your days where you're not teaching and you're just locked in trying to study. It's always great for me to be able to have these conversations with you where I can kind of pick your brain and see, where you're coming from when it comes to how you're growing the sport. I can't thank you enough for these talks. They're enlightening for me and an education, hopefully, for a lot of folks when it comes to how you've been growing the game up there in Dalton. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. I'm glad to. I'm honored you asked me to come on here and do this. And I appreciate what you're doing for the game because, when I got into this, I just wanted to be part of soccer. I wanted to earn a living and continue to get to be part of soccer. And there weren't a lot of opportunities to do that at that point in my life, So anyways, I just want to see the sport keep growing. There's so much more opportunity for people in soccer today than there was 30 or 40 years ago. And I just think that's fantastic.
Well, just be safe, enjoy your preps, stay dry. Obviously, for me, just make sure the pennies are washed in cold, I guess, so they don't shrink. Is that how that works? Just make sure it's cold water, or do you have to actually do it like hot?
No, I just make sure there's soap in there and put them in. They're pretty tough.
There you go. Good to see you, my friend. Good luck on Friday night, and we'll keep an eye on things. We'll be knocking on your door soon.
All right, very good. Thank you very much.
There goes Matt Cheaves, head coach of the Dalton Catamounts, heading toward a 0. Wow, 500 wins. And it is just incredible what he's been able to build there and be a part of what has been built there in all of those years. 7 state championships, nationally known and recognized. And, obviously can't thank him enough to be able to, talk to him about evolution and coaching habits and advice for others and all those kinds of things. So I can't thank him enough. Very, very cool that we were able to catch up with Matt Cheaves here on Red Clay Wednesday. So very, very cool there. All right. Before we get out of here, let's get into the scores and excuse me, what happened in the rankings and everything in the overnights. And we'll get you ready for today. So today's schedule is pretty light, actually. 12 matches today on the boys' side. South Paulding, Paulding County, East Paulding, and Douglas. And so they're getting into region play. Northside and Jones County, keep an eye on that one. It's on the boys' side. Always a competitive rivalry there. Tryon and Dalton Academy. Drew and Booker T. Washington. That is tonight. Drew out of the blocks at 7-0. Rome and Etowah, 3-2 and 4-2. Cedar Shoals, Franklin County. McIntosh and Lovejoy, 6-1 and 4-2. That one's at 8 o'clock. Mondays, Mill and Griffin. South Cobb and Lithia Springs. Stevenson and North Clayton in DeKalb County. So that is what is going on the boys' side. And on the girls' side, we have, is it 12 or is it a different number? 14 on the girls' side. Northside and Jones, they're the early one, 3-4 versus 6-1. Once again, another big rivalry. That one's at 5:30. Eastside and Loganville. Reminder, we're going to be at Eastside on Friday. For Walnut Grove and Eastside, that's going to be the matchup on Friday. Tomorrow, it is Utopian Arts Academy at Social Circle I'll have those games for you on the doubleheader. And we are looking forward to Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So it is high school on Thursday at Social Circle, high school on Friday at Eastside. Everybody's going to be at Atlanta United on Saturday, and we will see you there. I'll be there incredibly early because it's day one of a new season and everything. And then it is the twos in Athens on Sunday. So that's our rundown here for the weekend. And so it's high school, MLS, MLS Next Pro. And it is after that with core on Sunday. Next Tuesday, it's going to be Norcross and North Gwinnett. And that one will be at North Gwinnett High School, 5:30 and 7:30. And then next one on the board after that, Dalton and Baylor. That one's next Wednesday, week from today. And then it is Calhoun and Gilmer on Friday, next Friday. And so Atlanta and Philly is on the 14th with Mike and Jason. Afternoon start. So that one's going to be an early start in Philadelphia or in Atlanta for when the Union come to town, not this Saturday, but next. Just a PSA, I will be in Macon next week. So red clay, if we can find someone to do red clay next Wednesday, we will have red clay. If not, then red clay just gets a week off and we come back in 2 weeks to lay everything out going forward. But I'll be in Macon to do the morning show. Red clay, we're going to kind of put it in pencil for this time next week. And then we will let we'll let everybody know. Morning show will be fine. Might have to curb it a couple of minutes one way or the other during the week so I can get to the broadcast location at the Macon Coliseum. Red clay we'll put in pencil. And then we do have the action going on next week. Norcross, North Gwinnett on Tuesday. Slated for Dalton and Baylor on Wednesday. And then on Friday, it is Calhoun and Gilmer. So that's the rundown there as well. It's always fun to be able to catch up with all of these coaches and kind of compare notes and see what's going on with them as you're in this particular point of the schedule. You're chasing, you're getting into non-region play. And you're in non-region play now. You're getting into region play. And you're checking what it's going to look like across the board. And so you'll get the chance to see what it looks like this time of the season. You want to challenge yourself. And we actually got a moment. We got a moment in the show where it looks like Jefferson and Brookwood may actually schedule each other next year in the 2-year cycle. How about that? Dr. Mike Tolmich and Molly McCarty. It's like, yeah, let's go ahead and play each other. That was fun. So, and I like Dr. SDH will come and do it. He's not wrong. He's absolutely not wrong. But no, it was fun. And I can't thank Coach McCarty, Coach Tolmich, and Coach Cheaves. I know that I would use the L word around him when it comes to the state of Georgia. But I know that he would be one of the first to sit there and talk about the community and the town and the school and the administration and the parents and the history that's attached to it and all of those moving parts, the assistants who come back and they were part of that whole discussion. And they're, you have the second generation players now that were there when he was starting out. And now you have them cycling back into all of this. He would be, to use the word legend, I would use the word legend, and I would use it in a national sense. But I don't know. But like I said, I think the first thing that Coach Cheaves would do is he would sit there and talk about everybody else that helped make it what it is. It wouldn't be the 7 state championships if it wasn't for the players investing. It wasn't for the administration investing the way that they do. For everyone in the community backing the program and understanding what they're trying to do across the board. So I'll use legend, national legend when it comes to soccer. And if by the time that his career is over, I will say this, that, there need to be like 98,000 halls of fame that the Dalton program should be recognized in, and Matt Cheaves should be a part of that whole recognition. So that's me just being that short of saying he's a Hall of Famer. I know he's a Hall of Famer. I know he's a legend. I think he is. But when it comes to everything there in the sport, I know that he would be the first person to sit there and say that it's not me. It's not just me. It's a lot of these other variables and elements that have attached to it. But to me, he's a living legend in the state of Georgia when it comes to coaching, regardless of sport, with what he's been able to do. Beats Woodland on Friday. It's win 500. So very, very cool stuff there. Tomorrow morning, it is 9:05. It is SDH AM. Chris Doran, the play-by-play voice of the Columbus Crew, is going to join us at 9:05, and then we have the Power Hour with Nino Torres and Sounder at Heart's Nico Moreno and Pulso Sports Nico Moreno. We're going to discuss everything Western Conference, take everything internationally with Nino. Nino says he has an exclusive. We'll find out what it is. Chris Doran's going to talk about Columbus and working our way through first 2 match days and getting you ready for the 3rd match day. And then we head to Social Circle for Utopian and Social Circle in the afternoon. So that is another full day here. Thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente, as always, for being a great partner and a great friend with us here at the SDH Network. So for everybody here at SDH, thanks for dropping by another go-round of the Red Clay Soccer Report. Mucha Platiel, play it safe. And since it is the end of the show, that means one thing. We get to do this. We'll see you in the morning, 9:05 Eastern.